15 Things You May Not Know About Alice in Wonderland. If I had a world of my own, everything would be nonsense. Nothing would be what it is, because everything would be what it isn't. Alice. Whether you know the novel, the Disney version or Tim Burton's movie, chances are low that you're not familiar with Lewis Carroll's iconic story of Alice's adventures in Wonderland. We followed Alice down the rabbit hole to reveal some interesting facts about the story and its history that you probably didn't know before. One. Alice is real. Alice's character was based on a real-life girl named Alice Little. Being brunette, she didn't have too much in common with Alice in Wonderland. However, the little girl asked the author, Carroll, to tell her a story on a boating trip in Oxford, and that was when he came up with the idea for his book. 2. Find the Cheshire Cat's tree in Oxford. I'm not crazy, my reality is just different than yours. The constantly grinning Cheshire Cat is known for sayings like that and also for sitting in a tree. This tree is said to be inspired by a real one, standing in the garden behind the real Alice's home at Christ Church College, Oxford. 3. Lewis Carroll is the dodo. While he created his characters fictionally, Carroll also took real-life inspiration. The dodo is referring to himself, as he stuttered when he spoke and often took Alice to see the dodo bird at the National History Museum in Oxford. 4. Mock turtle soup is real. The Queen left off, quite out of breath, and said to Alice, "Have you seen the mock turtle yet?" "No," said Alice. "I don't even know what a mock turtle is." "It's the thing mock turtle soup is made from," said the Queen. Alice in Wonderland, Chapter 9. Created as a cheaper version of green turtle soup, it was a popular dish in Victorian times, made from various odd parts of calf, such as brain, head and hoof. Doesn't sound too tempting to us. And 5. Queen Victoria loved Alice in Wonderland. After reading about Alice's adventures, Queen Victoria suggested that Carroll dedicated his next book to her. And so, his next work, an elementary treatise on determinants, with their application to simultaneous linear equations and algebraic equations, was presented to the Queen. Perhaps not quite what she had in mind. 6. Carroll saw things the way Alice did in Wonderland. Suffering from a rare neurological disorder that causes strange hallucinations and affects the size of visual objects, Carroll saw things bigger or smaller than they actually were, a big theme of his book. The disease was later named Alice in Wonderland syndrome. 7. Alice and censorship. The novels were banned in China, on the grounds that animals should not use human language. 8. Illustrator John Tyndall thought the first book was horrible. Carroll asked prominent English illustrator John Tyndall to create the accompanying art for the story. When he saw an early copy of the book, he was dismayed how badly his drawings had been reproduced. Spending more than half his annual salary to get it reprinted, Carroll was left in a financial hole before the book even came out. Luckily, Alice was met with instant success. 9. A version for toddlers. In 1890, Carol released a shortened version of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland for smaller children aged from 0 to 5, including 20 of John Tyndall's illustrations from the original book colored, enlarged and, in some cases, revised. 10. The first movie of Alice was only 12 minutes long. A few years after Carol's death, directors Cecil Hepworth and Percy Stowe made the story into a 12-minute film. At this time, that made it the longest film produced in Britain. 11. Alice in Elfland or Amongst the Fairies. Carroll tried many different titles for his novel. The original tale was called Alice's Adventures Underground, but upon publication he came up with ideas like Alice's Hour in Elfland and Alice Amongst the Fairies. Luckily he went with Alice's Adventures in Wonderland instead. 12. The book has never been out of print. Since it was published in 1865, it has been translated into 176 languages. At the time, the book was so popular that its sequel, Through the Looking Glass, and What Alice Found There, sold out within 7 weeks of its publication. 13. Alice in Drugland. Alice drinks potions, eats mushrooms and hallucinates as if she were on LSD, all while the world around her changes frighteningly and her mood and perceptions are hugely altered. There seem to be a lot of drug references in this book, and that left some people with the interpretation that the books and films are referring to drug abuse. 14. The White Rabbit will always be late. The White Rabbit's pocket watch is always set at 12:25 in Disney's Alice in Wonderland. Better not expect him to be on time for anything, as he only has the chance twice a day. 15. Wonderland or Murderland, what do you prefer? Horror filmmakers have used the idea of Alice for films, such as 2010's Alice in Murderland, where the Jabberwocky brings murder and mayhem to a girls' night out. We think we will stick with Carol's nicer Wonderland version,